And regular trading hours is where you're going to see the gaps from the previous session to where we open up the next day at 9:30. So at settlement price, previous day, and then where we open at 9:30, whatever the distance is separating the settlement price of the previous day and where we open at 9:30 New York local time, that's our opening range. Okay, so that opening range gap acts and performs in the same manner as we would expect a weekly volume imbalance. Okay, so when we look at price gaps like this, okay, I want you to think about how markets efficiently deliver price. Okay, I taught this analogy using a paint roller. Okay, and imagine this white shaded area background is a wall in your house, and you want to paint in these little areas where you need to have paint applied. Okay, so maybe you've already painted your house and the paint's now faded, or there's handprints like a child. Like I had 5 kids, and obviously they would put their hands on the walls and make marks and such, and we'd have to have the walls painted. And some kind of blemish or some kind of inefficiency in paint exists between these two candle bodies. Okay, this candle's body here and this candle's body here. Between that opening price and that opening price, there's a separation of price delivery that did not have a body. So I'm highlighting that and extending it all the way through. When I show you these ranges, I'm not going to drop down to the lower time frames. The homework assignment for you is to have these on your charts and then drop down to the lower time frames on electronic trading. Okay, so just know that I'm showing you something so that way you can observe and identify things and discover it on your own and have that aha moment. But this distinction here between these two candles opening here, there's no bodies between these two price points. So that inefficiency, you want to extend those out in time because they'll eventually be offered buy side and sell side. That means upside and downside delivery. Here we only had a partial delivery of upside and then drops. So from this point here up to here, that is the real inefficiency that remains because we've already had this partial and this movement down. So think of it as a paint roller up and down. So from this opening price and that opening price up to right there, it has been offered delivery of price. So there's a real separation between this high and that candle's opening price. There's a distinct inefficiency there. But nonetheless, you can see how we respected that opening price there. Look how we're treating it with these bodies here. And then we have another gap there. We have a gap here, but I'm showing you how inside this range, you're anticipating and expecting price to deliver both sides, up and down. That's an efficiently delivered price. You can see how we worked off the low here, and we had another gap there. So it wants to reach up into that. But every time I'm showing you one of these ranges, I want you to go into not regular trading hours, but electronic trading hours and study how price delivers. You'll see how it's real dynamic support and resistance. It's not readily understood or seen by most traders. I mean, obviously I've been teaching it this year, but you won't see it in books, okay? You're going to look at it right away and think it's supply and demand, or it's classic support and resistance. I promise you there's no books out there with support and resistance with this idea. It isn't there, okay? They may see a gap, but they're not looking at gaps multiple times in the future, okay? And as soon as price would go from here to here, they would consider that gap closed and there's no more concern about it. And that's what separates me from retail. Because the fact that gap was created, the algorithm will refer back to those 3 price points, which is the low, consequent approach, which is the midpoint of the gap, and then the high. Okay, so whatever the extreme boundaries, high and low, and whatever the middle point is, those 3 specific price points are very, very sensitive. And if you want to go 1 degree beyond that, you can split that range up in quadrants. So the first 25%, 50%, 75% of the entire inefficiency, and then the high of the inefficiency. And that's what I want you to do for your electronic trading hours study. So look at all of the price action in here. Even though there's gaps missing, price data here. In electronic trading hours, there is no gap. It's actually being traded through from here to here, and then from here to here. So that's one there. The other one is here. Okay, and what you're doing again is toggling it from regular trading hours to electronic trading hours, and you'll study how price delivers inside this range here. You don't want to have all of the inefficiencies on the chart at the same time, so that way it helps you track what you're looking for and study time of day. Look for inefficiencies. Think like silver bullets in the London session, in the New York session, both AM session and PM session. You're going to be surprised to see how much precision that these levels will offer. Not just the high and the low, but consequent encouragement and 75%, 50, and 25% of those respective ranges. And then lastly, the one here. Okay, so that way you can see these are 3 homework assignments I want you to go through on your time frames lower than obviously the 1 hour chart. And you'll see that these respective inefficiencies have really interesting characteristics where setups can form.